Welcome to the show, guys. We got a big episode today. We're talking about 5 upside fantasy football wide receivers for 2022. Big boom type fantasy football wide receivers that have massive upside, and some of them are great value. You call them fantasy football wide receiver sleepers if you want for the most case, but these guys have that upside, have that potential, and you can steal them in most drafts for decent value to help you guys crush your leagues, okay? Big episode. You don't want to miss it. I know it's off season, but you got to lay the foundation for the season as we ramp up, because fantasy football doesn't end here with this channel. So if you want to support the channel, I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys do hit that thumbs up below, turn on that subscribe bell, and comment below. Interact. I want to make this super interactive. Do you agree with this list as I go through it? And who is a boom wide receiver for you guys? Love to hear it. Who is your upside wide receiver, okay? Go do that. Secondly, guys, manscaped.com. Showerline20 is the code. Save yourself 20%. Manscaped.com. I use the product. I mean, I wouldn't promote something I did not use. Skin safe technology. I use a shampoo, body wash, everything, guys, to stay fresh and groomed. Again, that skin safe technology lets you groom around those sensitive areas. I got the Lawnmower 4.0, and again, I'm adamant about promoting stuff that I believe in, okay? So manscaped.com, save yourself 20%, use promo code ShowerLion. Go do that right now. And finally, guys, head on over to thefantasyfootballaccounts.com. I've also linked it below. Get that 16-round draft solution. It will help you guys crush the competition. It's not even going to be fair. You guys are going to be light years ahead of the competition. Head on over, guys, right now to thefantasyfootballaccounts.com. Get 16 rounds. The first ever and only video training, sleepers, breakouts, everything linked it here below as well. Get in for the lowest price of the season. All right, let's go into 5 upside fantasy football wide receivers. Without further ado, again, smash that thumbs up. The first guy here, and I know this guy's obvious, and I get it, but the guy I'm talking about is Jamar Chase. Let me tell you why he's so upside, why he's so boom type potential. Jamar Chase is an amazing player. We don't doubt that at all. But again, the mainstream lied to you. They had him 60th on the rankings last year. He was sitting like on another planet. I'm looking at the outdated magazines right now. I got a couple in front of me here I went through before the show. And I'm telling you, this is a guy and other guys I'm going to list here that the mainstream was sleeping on, and they did really well. Now they're riding them. So Jamar Chase is currently sitting, guys, 5th right now. 5th on the consensus rankings. Finished 5th last year. And here's the thing. Here's why I love the upside for him, okay? 128 targets, 81 receptions, 1,455 receiving yards, and 13 touchdowns. Now, I don't think he's scratched the surface. 128 targets is nothing compared to what Cooper Kupp had. Cooper Kupp had at 191 targets. So, guys, I'm seeing the upside. I'm seeing the potential. 191 targets compared to 128. Jamar Chase is the better receiver. Cooper Kupp's going to be almost 30 years old. He's going to be like 29 this year. So Jamar Chase, a ton of ceiling, a ton of upside, and he's got that rapport with Joe Burrow. So I absolutely love Jamar Chase this year. The talent is there. He makes some incredible catches. And again, people are like, well, Joe, that's obvious. He's a boom type of wide receiver. But do you have him finishing 1st overall amongst wide receivers? I think that upside is there. I do. So again, Jamar Chase, boom type of wide receiver. Now the next one, and the next couple guys here as we move on this list aren't going to be as obvious, obviously, okay? So the second guy here is Gabriel Davis. Now, Gabriel Davis, year-long numbers did not impress me. 63 targets, 35 receptions, 549 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Nothing to get excited about. But here's the thing with Gabriel Davis. He boomed in the postseason. He had, a couple games in the postseason, and he had 4 touchdowns in 1 game. Currently sitting 47th right now amongst wide receivers on the consensus rankings, which is absolutely disgusting. This guy finished 58th last year amongst wide receivers, but the upside is there. Now, listen, again, postseason numbers, 13 targets, 10 receptions, 242 yards, and 5 touchdowns, okay? This is huge. He was the number 1 wide receiving target and wide receiver for Josh Allen. Now, the only hindrance for him is obviously Stephon Diggs being the one there, but an injury to Diggs could catapult Gabriel Davis to absolute stardom. Now, already, again, I still think Diggs there, he still should be able to eat a lot because we know Josh Allen likes to throw the ball. I think Gabriel Davis thrives, and a guy you can get from mid to late rounds as a steal with massive upside, okay? Again, we saw flashes of it, and that's all we need to see that breakout to show that potential. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be your wide receiver 1 on your team, but I'm saying if you can get him as your wide receiver 3, 4, there's a ton of upside. But again, you want to load up on those wide receivers mid to late rounds. and get that depth. That's what I had last year. I had Amon-Ra St. Brown on my team. I had Jamar Chase on my team. I had Cooper Kupp on my team. I had the guys that the mainstream were sleeping on because I was loading up on running backs early. Cooper Kupp was average draft position was around 4th to 5th round. He was sitting behind Robert Woods last year. So it's about getting the value, getting that wide receiver that could break out mid to late rounds. It's going to boom for you. I think Gabriel Davis could be that guy. But again, I don't trust him to be my wide receiver 1 or 2 even because he's not high on his depth chart. But again, a guy that could boom. Okay, coming in number 3 here, again, no particular order, but another boom wide receiver is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Looking at his numbers last year, the numbers looked healthy. They looked good. 119 targets, 90 receptions, 912 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown currently sitting 28th on the consensus route now in the rankings and finished 21st amongst wide receivers in PPR. I absolutely love him, guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the primary target there, guys, with the Detroit Lions. Played 17 games. Now, if you look at his competition, the only competition there is for targets would be the tight end, Hawkinson. Now, Hawkinson didn't have the greatest season at all. Hawkinson, injuries have always played a factor in him. 12 games, 61 receptions for 4 touchdowns. Nothing to get excited about with TJ Hawkinson. If he plays a full season, that could dip into Amon-Ra St. Brown's volume share. But again, there's nobody else there. Again, this is pre-NFL draft here. There's nobody else there that could take that volume away from him. Khalif Raymond was there. 16 games. What do you have? 71 targets. Josh Reynolds had 49 targets. Cephas, he had, He got hurt. He played 5 games. He had 23 targets. Amon-Ra is the guy. And again, what you got to understand here with wide receivers is that wide receivers take a while to groom. And I understand last year's wide receiver class was a special case because they had so much talent, but wide receivers take a while to groom. They take a while to build. And I genuinely believe Amon-Ra St. Brown is really coming into his own and a guy that could really, really thrive. Top 5, top 10 potential if he gets that volume. And I understand Jared Goff, we got to see the quarterback situation. He's a guy that has made wide receivers really good. We saw it with Robert Woods in the past. Cooper Kupp. So I'm looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown as a guy that's coming into his own, built that rapport, became the number 1 target. And this was a guy that was like 70th on the consensus rankings last year. Now they've got him 28th. He's moved his way up the rankings. The consensus are kind of waking up on him. But I was aware of him last year because in my 16-round draft solution, I told you to draft him, make sure he's on your rosters because there's nobody else there. Sure enough, he thrived and had himself a decent season. But Amon-Ra St. Brown this year is a guy that could really, really boom, okay? Coming in at number 4, and again, I love him. A lot of people may not be high on him. Currently sitting 27th on the consensus rankings right now, which is absolutely ludicrous because he is the number 1 wide receiver on his team, Devonta Smith. Okay, Devonta Smith last year, 104 targets, 64 receptions. Hasn't scratched the surface yet. Jalen Hurts is coming to his own. He is building himself up. Jalen Hurts, again, needs to figure out his role. He needs to develop. He just wasn't there. I saw him pressured last year, and he didn't make any, he wasn't making really good decisions downfield. I think his accuracy needs to get better. But Devonta Smith, only 104 targets. That needs to go up. 5 touchdowns. That's definitely going up. 916 yards. That's definitely going up. Devonta Smith, again, finishing 30th amongst wide receivers in PPR last year, sitting 27th this year on the consensus. A guy that is the wide receiver 1 on his team, where he's got that rapport with Jalen Hurts, and it's only going to get better. Now, there's rumors, there's talk, maybe Russell Wilson ends up on the Eagles. We don't know. The time of this recording is Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith, and I love the upside of Devonta Smith if Jalen Hurts is there. Again, they can only get better from last year. Another wide receiver that was young, rookie, needs to develop, and understand wide receivers take years to develop. I think Devonta Smith comes into his own, becomes a top 10 wide receiver if the target count gets up there, and I think it definitely should. Okay? Number 5 here, not so obvious here. Even his coach McDaniels has said Jaylen Waddle is the man. He basically said that he would draft him in fantasy or something like that. He's like, fantasy points are going to be there. Currently sitting 10th right now amongst wide receivers on the consensus rankings. And the reason I mention the consensus rankings so much is because that's how I gauge. That's how the advantage is, because that's what the sheep are doing. They're going to be drafting on consensus. That's where you get the advantage with 16 rounds and listening to this channel. Make sure you guys subscribe over the competition. Now let's talk about Jaylen Waddle here, who finished 13th last year in PPR amongst wide receivers, 141 targets. So this guy's target share is there compared to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Devonta Smith, who didn't get as much targets as this guy. And as you can see, guys, with the targets come receptions, 104 receptions. 1,015 yards and 6 touchdowns. More targets, more receptions, more volume, more touchdowns, more yardage. Jaylen Waddle had it. Now we got to see who's going to be throwing the ball next year too, and maybe it's Tua. If that's the case, that rapport might be there. Again, Tua's got to stay healthy. But Jaylen Waddle is that guy that could absolutely boom this season. Love the upside, love the talent, love the youth, okay? So looking at these wide receivers, some of them you can get for major value, and you can stack Devonta Smith and Amon-Ra St. Brown, or you might have to pay a bigger price for Jaylen Waddle, who's kind of a little more proven because the volume was there. So it's up to you. I may stack Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devonta Smith mid to late rounds and gets my running backs early, or you may want to get a Jamar Chase early and maybe sacrifice losing a running back, which I don't like to do because, again, you're going to get value at wide receiver. Things are going to shift. Depth charts are going to move. Rookies are going to come in. Things are going to change. But, again, you get that wide receiver value mid to late rounds. That's how you win your leagues. You load up on running backs early and get the wide receiver value later. And that's what I explain in 16 rounds. I give you exactly who I would draft in those rounds, okay? In every round for that matter. So there's 5 boom wide receivers here for you guys. If you are new to the channel, make sure you guys do subscribe. Get 16-round draft solution. Leave a comment below. Love to hear who you think is going to boom. Love to get that feedback, and I want to make this interactive. So make sure you guys are commenting and subscribing and turning on that bell. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. This is going to help you guys crush league. This is the channel. It's going to help you guys crush your league. So make sure you guys are subscribed. I appreciate you guys. I am out.